Hello, this is Chris Pappas from The Critical Listener, and today we're going to wade into the digital versus vinyl debate. Both sides have been constantly going at each other for the last about 30 years, and it doesn't seem that either side is backing down. So today we're going to end the argument once and for all. On the one side, we have the digital debate, and that is led by Jerry Del Cagliano, who we will quote from his review at hometheater.com on May 9th, 2016, in which he said, "Vinyl is a standard definition, low resolution format. Here specifically is why vinyl sucks." End quote. He then goes on to regurgitate some information about the technical specifications and why that makes digital better and vinyl terrible. This is like trying to buy a car based purely on specifications. Would you not drive it? What is the specification for steering feedback or for control in digital layouts? So you wouldn't ever buy a car just purely on specs, and you shouldn't be buying your music based purely on specs either. Music is a lot like cars in the sense that it's not just numbers. One of the biggest problems that the digital fanboys have an issue with is that they don't recognize that 90% of all music ever recorded between 1920 and 1980 is not available digitally. So how good can your digital music playback device sound if you can't listen to that music? That doesn't mean you can't digitize it yourself, but still, at that point, if you're putting on an album and putting it on a USB port to digitize it, you've just made a musical copy that's not as good as the original. So if you're getting it from vinyl and recording it onto digital, it might be a lot more useful so that you can go in the backyard and go through your MusicCast device and listen to everything whole house audio, but it's not a superior sounding product at that point in time. Additionally, sound engineers are often under a lot of pressure to raise the sound floors and make the music as loud as possible so that it can be played on the radio and sound as loud as the music that just played before it. This is very important because a lot of people who hear music hear loud as better, and a lot of recording engineers do artificially raise the gain so that they can make the music louder. This effectively squashes down the dynamic range to the point where vinyl actually can beat CD in that statistic. So statistically, digital has a wider dynamic range. But in reality, certain recordings, vinyl will beat digital, hands down, because of the way it was recorded. A great example is Led Zeppelin 2. If you play this on CD and on vinyl, the vinyl version, hands down, will sound better because the Led Zeppelin 2 transfer was done so poorly. This is also happening today with some of the master recordings being incorrectly transferred to CD because they want it to sound louder on radio playback than it does on the vinyl version. But the debate doesn't end there. The leading advocate on the internet for vinyl playback over digital is Michael Fremer. And let us quote Michael Fremer from his March 12, 2015 comment on analogplanet.com, in which he said, "I play plenty of CDs and do my best to sit through them, but after a short time, my body tenses up and my senses turn off." Are his ears so sensitive to pops, clicks, and distortion that if he doesn't hear them, he tenses up and his senses turn off? I'm switching this around on you guys a bit, but digital is not a useless format. To say that your body tenses up and your senses turn off when you listen to digital media is insane. I mentioned Led Zeppelin 2 earlier in comparing vinyl versus CD. Go out, buy the SA Super Audio CD version of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and buy the vinyl version and listen to both. There is no comparison whatsoever. Just like in Led Zeppelin 2 being better on vinyl, you will instantly hear the advantages of digital media in Dark Side of the Moon. Now, if you want to listen to that in 5-channel, go out and listen to it in 5-channel. But you can't do that on the vinyl version. Not only does it not sound as good, but vinyl is limited to a 2-channel medium. When a music source is engineered correctly for digital, there is absolutely no way the vinyl can sound better. There is no doubt that there's wider dynamic range, almost an inaudible noise floor, frequency response that goes far beyond what vinyl can handle, and more importantly is the category of how much is this going to cost you to get involved. Let me give you another quote from Michael Fremer in his Stereophile review of the VBI Classic Direct Turntable in 2014, in which he wrote, "It's competitive with, if not sonically better than, some other more expensive turntables." He continues to write, "If you're considering spending $25,000 on a turntable, listen to the Classic Direct." To be fair, he's not saying you can't enjoy vinyl on a $400 turntable. But to also be fair, he often states in his reviews that sonic differences are not subtle. Emphasis mine. But you will often see that in many reviews, that after doing A or B or listening to this new cartridge or new tone arm, the differences were huge. They completely opened up the airiness, the dynamic range, the sound quality of this particular turntable that he's listening to. And let me tell you that if you come to the Critical Listener and you buy a $500 Super Audio CD player, and you buy a $2,000 Super Audio CD player, I can guarantee you the differences between those two products is subtle, very subtle. The ability to hear the difference between those two takes not only a trained ear, but someone who's going to be completely engaged in the music while they're listening to it. In conclusion, it seems what gets clicks these days is not honesty, but extreme views. Digital is not a cold, heartless, and lifeless music format, and vinyl does not suck. It depends on the music format you're listening to, and both turntables and a digital playback device need to be part of your system. Thank you.